Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over math, GCSE. This is for international and the board is Edexcel. This is a predicted paper, but make sure please to revise all the other topics since we cannot guarantee that this is the topics that are actually going to come up in the real exam. So let's get started with question 1, which is a probability question. So a bag contains 60 beads and X is the beads that are red and the rest are green. So Altaf takes a random bead from bag. State in terms of text the probability that he takes a red bead. So the probability that he takes a red bead is just X over 60. This is because we just know that X is the amount, the number that red beads. So let's say if they said 17 was red beads, then we know it's 17 out of 60. So we just take X as a normal number in this scenario. So Altaf puts his bead back into the bag. Another 20 red beads are added to those in the bag. The probability that Altaf takes a red bead is now doubled. Use the information to write down an equation in X and show that the equation can be expressed as 8x equals 3x20. So with this question where it is a show that your equation information, it's really nice since you kind of know how you want and you know what the answer is, so how you need to do it. If you do get stuck and you don't know how to do it, you can always work backwards just by putting at the bottom and work your way up. You will get some marks here and there. So we know that the probability that Altaf takes a red bead is now doubled. So we know it was X over 60, but now since it's doubled, we know we can times it by 2. So now it says 2x60. And we also know now that they added 20 red beads. So because they added 20 red beads, we can say X, which was the amount that there is just beads red. We can plus this by 20. So now this is the amount is the same. And then this is over 80. It's not out of 60 anymore because they did add 20. And this can be the same since it's the same probability as 2x over 60. So you just take two things that you know will equal each other and then you just put it into it. So we know these two can equal each other since they both show the probability that we take a red bead. So if we just start to expand this and start to simplify it so that it looks better on us. So you go that. This is the same as 2x over 60. Here we can cross multiply. We can cross multiply because there's this equal in the sign. So that's 60x plus 20 equals 160x. So now that we got this, we can see kind of a hint of what type of numbers we should be looking for, and how we can get these numbers is just by dividing it by 2. So we could just divide here the 60, so it will be 30x plus 20. We don't need to divide the ones in the brackets since they will just all be times together, and this will be 80x. So it's kind of already looking like how they want us to structure our answer. So then then from there you can see that we can just divide by 10. And if we divide by 10, we'll go 3x plus 20 and 8x, which turns out to be the answer that they are looking for. So 2I, solve 8x equals 3x plus 20 and show you're working clearly. So this is just a normal linear equation. So what we do first is that we try and expand the brackets. So we do 3 and x. We times them together. So with bracket, that just means times. And 3 times 60, that 20 equals 60. So then what do? We put all the x's onto one side and we put all the normal ones onto the other. So we collect like terms in different parts of the equal. So this will be 8x. When we switch its sign around because we're basically doing the same on both sides so that we can move this over here. So it will be minus 3x equals 60. So this is 5x equals 60. Now, again, we want to move the 5 because we want to take all the like terms. So we put this on the other side. Here we're timesing, so this means here we'll divide. So x 60 over 5. So x equals 12. So question 2. AOD is the diameter of a circle with center 0 and radius 9 centimeters. ABC is an arc of the circle and AC is a chord. So the angle ADC, which is over here, is 35. and calculate the area of the shaded segment and give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So we need to find what this is. We know that ADC is 35. We can also see that ODC, this angle over here, is also 35. This is because they are both the same, so it's like they're both the same side, so that means they're the same angle. So this means we can find what this is. This is by minusing 180 by 2, because all the angles in a triangle equals 180. This will be 1, 0, so which means that over here, this angle over here is 70. This is also because in a straight line, an angle like that, this all equals 180, and a full circle equals 360. So what we can do now, just because we know that this is the origin and we know that A to O is the radius, we can find the area of a sector. And how you find the area of a sector, the equation is that you get the whatever angle that you're looking for. So in this case, it will be 70. You divide that by 360 and you do pi r squared. So over here, in this case, it will be 70 over 360. You do pi, and we know that A to 0 is radius, which is the 9. We do 9 squared, which if you put that into the calculator, you would get 49.48. And now we are trying to find the area of this triangle. So with these type of questions, you always try to get shapes that you're able to find the area of, so that you can minus them together and you can find the one. So we can see over here, what we can do is that the sector minus this triangle over here, this triangle, will equal that small part over here, which is what we are looking for. So if you do the area of a triangle, we can just use the half sin AB equation. So if we just use that, we can see that the radius is 9. So you do 9 times 9, since this is A and this is B, times that by 0.5, which is 1 over 2, and you do sin the angle that you have, which is 70. And if you get that, the area of the triangle would be, put it into a calculator, it would be 38.057. So basically all you need to do now is you take these two, the area of a triangle and area of sector, and you minus them from each other. So 49.48 minus 38, the answer would be 11.4. Because they need it into 3 significant figures. So what 3 significant figure is, it's just basically so you take, let's say 1, 2, 3, and then you take whatever this number over here and you see if you round that last number up or down. And if there is a 0 before, so let's say 0, 3, 8, 7, whatever, or let's say 0.005, you do not count these. You start from the first whole number that you have that is above 0. Okay, so now question 3, simplify fully this equation over here. So what we do with these type is that we simplify both ones and we basically factorize it and put them back into brackets. We do that for the top and the bottom so that we can try and find terms so that we can divide it from each other. So if you do from the first one, you can see that simplify it by putting it into 2x minus 5 and 2x plus 5. This is, and you know this by seeing that both of these are square numbers so that you can put it, because if you expand this back out, it will come to this one. And then you can do it's the same with this one. So one trick that I like to use, because for these type of equation, is that if you go onto your calculator, you have a function where you're able to solve equations. So this would depend on what calculator you're using. You can find how to do this online. I really do recommend it. It's a very easy thing to do, and it can save you a lot of marks. So you can solve your equation. When you solve your equation, they kind of give you what it is. So they'll be like x equals 5, or it'll be x equals 2 over 5. So what you can do is that you can go back into the brackets and you can see what was the equation and that step that was just before. So let's say if it was 5, you know, it will just be the opposite. So it'll be x minus 5. And for this one over here, you would times it with this one and you'd minus with this one. So again, you just do the opposite. So it'll be 5x minus 2. So if you put this into a calculator and solve it, you'll see that x equals minus 5 over 2, and x also equals 1 over 3. So if we use the method that we use over here and we put it into this, we can say divide by, and it will be x minus, it will be 2x plus 5, and it will be 3x minus 1. So we can see now that these two are the exact same, so you can just cancel them out. It's as if we divided them and we simplified it. So we can see that now the answer is just whatever we have left, which is 2x minus 5 over 3x minus 1. And we can't expand that, we can't factorize that, we can't get anything that's like terms to divide with, so we can't simplify that any further, so that is the final answer. Question 4, write 2 over 3 as a single power of 2. So they already made the base is 2. So what we do is that if you see anything with NA times NB, it's always going to be n, where n is the same number. A plus b, this is the law of the indices. So if we just apply it here, we can see it will just be 2, 3 plus 4. So it's 2 over 7. So if you see times, you know that you plus whatever power it is. So now B, find the value of n from this equation. What we try and do is that, let's say we'll put all the like terms all together. We'll put 2n by itself. So we can do 2at. Since you times it all back together, you can just divide this, because this will be on the other side, and it will be 5 times 7. That equals 2n. So now we have all the normal types of numbers on one side and the things that have power on the other side. So if you put this into a calculator, you would get 8 equals 2n. Now now you'll try to find a way to make 2n, you make 8 the same type of number, like the same type of style as 2n. We know that 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So we can put that in and we can try and simplify. So you can say 2, because you times it 3 times by each other, it's a 3 in the top. So 2 over 3 means 2 times 2 times 2. That's 3 times, which equals 2n. So we can see over here that n is in the same position where 3 is. So that is what the answer is. Question 5. The points 0 to minus 1 and 4, 5 lie on a straight line L. Work out the gradient of L. So gradient always is the change of y over the change of x. Now that's something that you just remember, where y is this way and x is over here. So what you do is you basically take a triangle type of thing. So if you see over here, it's a triangle. This is on the line. They gave us these points over here, so it will be easier for you. So let's say I wouldn't recommend doing something from like there to there. This is because it just makes it so much harder, since you don't know how accurate these numbers over here would. So I would choose something where it's very clear where the points end and stop, just so that you can get it as accurate as possible. So you can see here how many times this go up. Now some students might, what a mistake that is commonly done is that they only see that this is 5, so like how big this is 5, while it's actually not, because you have to take into account this, like the bottom part as well. So it actually goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So the change is actually 6. And if you go this way, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 over here. You basically, another way is just you add all the digits this way to this way, so 1 plus 5, 6. So basically a change of 6, so it will just be 6 over 4, and that is the same as 1.5. That is the gradient. So write down the equation of line of L. So what the equation of a line, it's always in the same type of form, which is mx plus c. Now what does these things mean? So m over here, this is the gradient. C here, this is the y-intercept. And x and y, this is just the same. It's the same in every single type of line. These do not change. So we already found out what the gradient is. So we can already put that as y equals 1.5x So now we gotta find what C is. So this is the y-intercept. What does the y-intercept mean? It just means wherever the line passes the y-axis, which is this way. So if you see here, see that the line is over here. This is where it passes, and then y number where it passes over here is -1, which we kind of covered with all these things. So it will be -1, which is the answer. This is the equation for L. So y 1.5 x minus 1. So find an equation of the line which is parallel to L and passes through the point -2, 0. So if something is parallel to a different line, that means that it has the same gradient. So because it's parallel and has the same gradient, this means that we know that this new line also has a gradient of 1.5. So we already have the equation halfway done. We already know it would be 1.5x, and we just need to find out what b plus c is. We need to find out what this part is. We can do this by putting the points that they give us. So we know that this is x and y. So what we can do, we can just put it in, and we have only one unknown, which is our c, and we can find out what the answer is for c. So let's put that in. It'll be 0 equals 1.5 times -2 plus c. So 0 equals, if we put this into our calculator, 1.5 times -2 is -3 plus c. Put this onto the other side, it will be 3 equals c. So we know that the y-intercept now is 3. So we go back to the original format of the equation. So we'll do y equals 1.5x plus 3. And that is the answer. So here, if you do find out that the y-intercept is negative, it overtakes what the plus was. Okay, so question 6. The diagram shows a pyramid with a horizontal rectangular base PQRS. PQ equals, and these are the different dimensions, which is shown over here. So calculate the size of the angle TP and the base PQRS and give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So we are trying to find what this angle over here. This is because this is what from PT, and this is from the base. The base, you need to remember, this is a 3D diagram. So this is the base over here. So this is what we are trying to find. When we do this, we want to try and do this using a triangle. So we are going to try and take it so that it's this way, so that we can use just Pythagoras theorem, so that we can make this as easy as possible without trying to overcomplicate it. So we already know what T to M is. This is 15. So one other thing that we need so that we can just find what this angle is, we need either this length or we need this length. So from the things and from the data that they already gave us, we can find out what this length over here is pretty easily. So what we do is that we are going to try finding first this whole length, since we have it, and this is just using Pythagoras theorem. So we do, this is because this over here is a right angle, that's why we're able to work. So we just do Pythagoras theorem, which is just 16 squared plus 10 squared, this is over, and that's going to equal PR. This is because a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if you do c, the squared goes to the other side, and that is why it does that. So if we do that, we know that PR is 18.9. And because this is the midpoint basically just means half of a line. So what we can do is that we can just divide it by 2. So the answer is 9.433. So if we just draw it so that we can really know what we're looking at for now, since this diagram is getting a bit more confusing, if this is P, T, and M, you can see over here we have this is 15. This over here is the angle we're trying to find, and we have just found that this over here is 9.433. So how we're going to find this is we can just use SOHCAHTOA. So one way so that I can remind myself what the equation is that basically just saying it really slowly. So SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA. So we can see over here that this is the equation for sin, this is the equation for cos, this is the equation for tan. So let's label what the opposite, adjacent, and hypothesis. So we know this is H. This over here, you always take what the angle, whatever opposite the angle, this is the opposite, whatever's next to it is the adjacent. So we have the opposite and the adjacent number, so we know that we're going to use tan, since this is O and A, which is the two data that we have. So it will be tan X, which is the angle we're looking for, is 15 over 9.433. So if you see in the equation that I use, it's always the first over the second letter. So if we do this, so that we can only find x by itself, is basically do x and you do tan inverse 15, 9.43. And this is just a function in your calculator. And what the answer turns out to be is 57.84. Put this into the calculator. So question 7, differentiate with respect to x. So how you differentiate is that you basically times the big number with the power, and then you minus 1 from the power. So how do we do that? Basically we do 2 times 8, which is 16, x, and then we have 2, now we're going to minus 1 with it, so it's just 1, which is the same as just 16x. Now, if you do the same for this one, with this one, try not to do fractions. Let's remove fractions as soon as you see them. It'll just make things simpler. So we know x is, so a fraction over x is the same as x minus 1. So we can just put 2. So anything x minus 1, that's the same as 1 over x. So it's just the same as a fraction. So this is another law of the indices. So if we do this, we'll do minus 1. You do minus 1 times by the big number. So that's going to equal as minus 2x. And then you have to minus 1 again from the power. It's already a minus. So minus 1 is minus 2. And that over here is the answer. So B, the curve with equation y equals 8x squared plus 2 over x has one turning point. So a turning point is basically, this is a quadratic, so we know a quadratic looks like that. So the turning point is this point over here, where this is going one direction and it stops and it goes to a different direction and goes up again. So what the function of a turning point, what is one feature that is unique to it, is that its gradient is 0. So the fact that its gradient is 0, so gradient 0, this is because it kind of goes down and it kind of goes into a straight line at that point, and it goes back up. And that point where it's straight, we know a straight line has a gradient of 0. Since it's basically like this. There is no change of y and there is no change of x, so it's basically 0 over 0, which is 0. So we know that. So find the turning points, find the coordinates of this turning point. So what we do, so the whole reason why we differentiate, why do we do dy over dx, we do that because that is how you find a gradient of a equation that is moving. So like this type of gradient, this gradient over here is not the same as the gradient over here, not the same as the gradient over here. It's just constantly changing. It's not like a straight line where it has one fixed gradient. So that's why we do dy over dx. It's so that we're able to see this change of gradient of a line that is a curve. So because we know that, we can start first differentiate this. We kind of already have done over here, so we just put it in. So y 16x minus 2x minus 2 equals 0. To make this easier for us, we are actually going to go back into a fraction. So how we go back into fraction is that we just put minus 2, because it's x over minus 2, that's the same as x squared. And this, because we know that the gradient is 0, we know that this equation over here equals a 0. So we know that whatever it is, because we're trying to find the turning point over here. So now we can find what the coordinate x is. This is just by finding it as a normal linear equation. So we'll put this to the other side because this is the minus. We don't really like minuses. Try and make stuff as positive as possible. So 2x squared equals 16x. Let's times these together. Be 16x 3, since 2 plus that 1, that invisible 1 over there. If we do 2 over 16 equals x3. And then that's the same as 1 over 8. And then we can cube it, because that's the same as 3. We can know that x equals 1 over 2 if you just put that into our equation. So now that we found what x over here, we found what x is, we need to substitute it back into the original equation. We substitute it back into this equation, the first one, so that we can find what y is. So what a common mistake people do is that they substitute it back into the differentiated equation. This is wrong. We need to substitute back into the original one so that we can find the correct point. So if you put it back, then you can find out that y is 6. Okay, so question 8. The diagram shows a regular 5-sided polygon. Work out the value of x, which is over here. To work out what the angle is, it's the same question, it's the same formula over, so it's n minus 2 times 180 over the sides, and which is n. So n is the number of sides that one has. So in this question that they gave us, this is a polygon, so we know it's 5. So it'll just be 5 minus 2 times 180. So that equals 540. So this we know is the sum of all the angles in this particular shape is 540. And then so that we can just find it for 1, which is over here, we divide by 5, which means that the answer is 108. So the diagram shows a regular 6-sided polygon. Work out the value of y. So 6-sided will do the same, where it's 6 minus 2, and we times that by 180. And we'll divide by 6 from the beginning because we know that they are all equal in size. So we can just divide by 6 to see how much just one angle is. This is so that we can find this one over here first. This is 120. So in a straight line, as I've said before, a line, this whole angle is 180. So since we have this part over here, we know that this is 120. We can just minus 180 from 120 so that we can find out what the remaining is. So which is the y over here, which is 60. So question 9, the ratio of Mark's age to Rita's age is 3 to 5. So Mark's age is 24 years. Work out what Rita's age is. So if we just make this so it's clear for us, we'll do Mark, Rita. It's 3 to 5. We have 24 over here. And we do not know what this one is. That we can find out what basically 1 is. So you do 24 divided by 3, which is 8. So we know that 1 of it is 8. So 1 of this 3 equals 8. So we can just times it by 5 so that we can see how much Rita is, and it would be 14. Answer is 14. So just take ratio is basically just a different way of saying a percentage of something. So the ratio of John's age to Zara's age is 1 to 4. So the sum of their ages is 45. Work out the Zara's age. So 1 to 4. This is John to Zara. So if we add these two ratios together, we know that it's 5. So then we do 45 over 5. This is 9. And then we just want to see what Zara's age is, which is, she's the 4 in this case. So you do 9 times 4. And this equals 36. She is 36, while John is 9. Okay, so question 10. The triangle PQR is an enlargement center O of triangle ABC. OAP and OBQ are straight lines. So work out the length of OB. So they want the length over here. So this is a ratio question again, but this is in disguise. So we know, because it is a enlargement, we know that they always enlarge with a set scale factor. So we can see over here we have two data that we do know. We have P to Q. We know that this was all 6, and now this is actually all just so we know from here to here is 6, and from here to here is 2. So what we can do is that we can see by how much it's enlarged, and this can happen by just doing 2 over 6. So we know it was enlarged by this 1 over 3, so we can do the same over here so that we can find out how much smaller it is. So we just do 1 over 3 times by 7.2. The answer is 2.4. So work out the length of PR. PR is over here. Now we're going to use the scale factor. We need to figure out what the scale factor is. So we can see over here, this overall P2O is 8, but then when they did, it was A2O is 2. A2O is 2. So we can see what the scale factor is when they actually enlarged it. So we can say 2 to 8, that means that the scale factor is 4. So when they did this, it was 2 times by 4, that's why it was P to O. So you need to remember that the 6 over here just represents from PA to P to A. So because the scale factor was 4, you can see the PR over here. PR is completely parallel to AC over here. They are completely parallel to each other. So we can just do 3.7 times 4. So the answer is 14.8. So the area of a triangle PQR is 72 centimeters squared. Work out the area of the triangle ABC. So ABC, if we just kind of move this so that we can see more clearly. So we are trying to find out what the area of this over here. We know that the scale factor is 4. So because it's in centimeter, we need to be able to do it. So it'll be 4 squared. So that is 16. Because we are working in squared. So then we do that, and then we do 72 over 16, since we're just finding the smaller one. When we put it into the calculator, we can see that the answer is 4.5, which is the answer over here. So make sure that you always pay attention to what unit you're looking for. If you see squared, make sure you times, since this was 4 centimeter scale factor, make sure you times it by 2 to be square as well. Okay, so question 11, solve the simultaneous equation 3x plus 5y equals 14 and 4x plus 3y equals 4, and show clear algebraic working. So for this one, we'll do it by elimination. So what we do is that we want one of these to equal each other. So we're going to get the x's to equal to each other. So that they are the same, the lowest common multiple for both of them is 12. So that we can make it 12x for both of them, so that we can completely get rid of it. We need to times this whole equation by 4 and this whole equation by 3. Remember, when you times something, you need to times every single thing in the equation. You can't just times one part of it. So it will be 12x plus 20y equal 56. And the second equation will be 12x plus 9y equals 12. So what we can do is we can just minus them from each other, because 12x minus 12x equals 0. So we know this is 0. So we do 20 minus 9. This will be 11y. Do 56 minus 12, and this will be 44. So if you do y, because we'll just 44 divided by 11, take that, it will be 4. So we know that y equals 4, so now we just got to substitute this back into the original equation. Always substitute back to the original equation. So we'll just choose any one of them. So we'll do 4x plus 3. We know y now is 12. We know that y now is 4 equals 4. So that is 4x plus 12 plus 4. And if we just 4x equals minus 8, x equals minus 2, since you just divided this by 4. So we know -2 and 4, which is the answer. So question 12, make R the subject of the formula for a 4r squared minus pi r squared, where r is positive. So right now we'll just ignore this part at the end. So we'll do a equals 4r squared minus pi r squared. This is just so that I understand the question better if you write it again. So we know that these are a common thing in both of these ones, and we want to just try making it so that there's just one of the thing that we need, so it will be much easier for us to just take it and make it one. So how we can do that is that we can just factorize out of it. It'll be r squared 4 minus pi. So here already we made it 1. So now we can just move this whole thing to the other side since it contains no r. So it'll be a over 4 minus pi equals r squared. Now what you do with r squared is that you put a over 4 minus pi. So usually when you do squared of something, it's always a minus and a positive. This is, let's say, because do 2 times 2, it equals 4. But -2 times -2 also equals 4 because 2 minuses equal a positive. So there is always a plus and minus. When you square root something, there is always a plus and minus. There's always a plus and minus solution. So because they only wanted the positive, it's going to be plus a over 4 pi minus pi. Question 13. A box contains 80 tea bags and the table shows the information of the weight for each tea bag. Work out the percentage of 80 tea bags that weigh more than 3.1 grams. So because it only says more than 3.1 grams, we only need to use these ones. So basically we do 32 plus 14 plus 6, which is 52. And then we divide it by the 80 that we know. So where the answer would be 0.65 times it by 100 because it's a percentage, it will be 65%. So work out an estimate for the total weight of 80 tea bags and use the halfway values 2.85 and 2.95. So let's find the halfway values for each one. We'll do this in red. So we can see over here, this will be 2.85, 2.95, 3.05, 3.15, 3.25, 3.35. So over here, sometimes they do not say to use the halfway values, but if you ever try to find mean or thing, always make sure that you use the halfway points, since it makes it so much easier, and that is the way they expect you to do it. So what we do now is that we take each single one of this. So we basically took an average of what the weight is, and now we're going to times it by the number of tea bags. So we do this times this, and then we will add them all together. So if we just times from each one, we know that this will be 5.7, 11.8, 67.1, 100.8, 45.5, and 20.1. Now if we just add every single one together, we know that the answer would be 251. Okay, so here's a cumulative frequency graph for the weights of the 80 tea bags. So use the graph to find an estimate for the number of tea bags which weighed more than 3.25 grams. So if you see, this is 3.2 grams. We're going to go up this way. Go this way. This is just so that we show that we are reading the graph. So make sure you always put your lines clearly, so as this is part of your working out. So if you see over here, we can see how much the cumulative frequency is. This over here is 70, so this should be around 68. So 68 weighs less. We want to see what weighs more. So we'll do 80 minus 68, which is 12. So use the graph to find an estimate of the interquartile range of the weight of the tea bag. So what you do for interquartile range, I'm just going to move this so that we make it more clearly, is that you take the 75% of cumulative frequency and you get the 25%. You see what's in the middle. So from 80, 75, 60, 25% is 40. So if you just read from the graph, see here it's 3.2. Go to 20. You stop when you reach that curve. See over here, this is around 3.07. And this is 3.2. Then you just minus these two together. So you do 3.2 minus 3.07. And this will be 0.13. So interquartile range is just lower quartile, is upper quartile, minus the lower quartile is interquartile range. Okay, so question 14. Solve 6x minus 1 over 4 minus 5 minus 2x over 2. 1. Show algebraic workings. So what we need to do is that this is just like a normal fraction. We need to make sure that the denominator is the same number. So what we can do to make it the same, we can times this over here, this fraction, all by 2 so that it also has 4 as the equation. So we do 4, 6, 8x minus 1. This will stay the same. We'll do minus. So if we times everything by 2, this will be 10 minus 4x. And this is 4. And this equals 1. We don't play with that part yet. And then now, since they are the same, we can just minus them from each other and we can make the denominator the same. So it will be 6x minus 1. So with the minus, make sure that you have to actually times the minus, which each one of them, which is a common mistake that most students do. So it will be minus 10, and minus and a minus is a positive, so it will be plus 4x, and this equals 1. Now we can go ahead and just take them out. So we'll just do 6x plus 4x, that is 10x minus 11 over 4 equals 1. Now we can continue it over here. So always make sure, even if it is really messy, make sure you put some arrows or something so the examiner can clearly see what your thought process is. So it'll be 10x minus 11 equals 4 since we put this to the other side. And that's by timesing since it's dividing on this side. So it'll be 10x, this equals, since it's minus here, it will be a positive here, so it will be 11 plus 4, which is 15. X, 15 divided by 10, so x is 1.5. Okay, so Lisa sees a dress in a sale and the normal price for the dress is $45. The price of the dress is reduced to 12% in the sale. So work out the dress in the sale. So since it's reduced by 12%, what I like to do is that change it to a decimal. That's 0.12. And this is basically 100% of the price. 100% is the same as 1. So do 1 minus 0.12. So the answer is 0.88. So this is basically what the new percentage is. So what you can just do is just 45 times by 0.88. So the answer would be 39.6, which is the new dress of the price. So then we can say Lisa weekly pay increases from 425 to 4546. So calculate her percentage pay increase. What you do is that you do the new. So if you see calculate percentage pay increase or the decrease, percentage decrease. So it's always new minus old over the old times by 100. So no matter what, if they just want the percentage of, if they want percentage change, this is always the formula to use. So if you do use, so 456 minus 4525 over 525 times by 100, we can see that the answer is 4%. F is the function fx equals 2x plus 5. So find f3. So what f3 basically means is that if you can see the 3 just replaced the x over here. So this means that we just put the 3 into wherever we see an x. So just 2, put the 3 plus 5. If you just put that, it will equal 11. So express the inverse function f1 in the form f1x. You take this equation, the original equation, instead of fx, we're just going to put y just to make things easier for us. It doesn't really matter. So we do 2x plus 5. Now we switch the y and the x. So we'll do x equals 2y plus 5. So now that we've done that, we want x now to be the x to be the subject. So what we do, we can just rearrange and change the subject, so we can see 2x. And now if you do that, you can see that we rearranged it. Now all we do is that we switch the x and the y, so it will be x minus 5 over 2. And this over here is the answer, x minus 5 over 2. Okay, so g is the function of gx, x squared minus 25. Find g minus 3. This is the same as before. You just put minus 3 wherever you see the x. So minus 3 squared minus 25. So in the calculator, when you see minuses, always make sure you put the bracket or else it doesn't work, because minus 3 times minus 3 is actually 9. So you need to make sure you put the bracket so that it can work. So this will be minus 25. The answer would be minus 16. So find GF and give your answer as simple as possible. So what this means is basically you put fx and you put fx, the equation fx, wherever you see the g, wherever in the equation g you see the x. So if you see, you can see that f over x, we'll just put it here so that we can see it clearly, is 2x plus 5. So, well, this is gx. So now we have to put this equation over here into every x you see in the gfx equation. So it will be gx equals, so it already starts with an x squared. So you'll put 2x plus 5, square it, minus 25. And that's basically all you do. It's whatever the inside, so it's the inside one that goes inside the outside one. Always remember that's the direction of it. So then now if you just expand it, and as if it's a normal one, you can even just ignore this one so that it makes it easier. We'll just expand it and solve it. That would be 4x squared. How you times is that you times this to this, this to this, and this to this, and this to this. Be plus 10x plus 10x plus 25 minus 25. This already gets cancelled out, so we're left with 4x plus 20x, which is the answer. Now, because we need to solve it now, basically just this equation over here, and we equal it to 0. And then again, you can just put this into your calculator to figure it out, and then the answer would be x equals 0 and x minus 5. So in the calculator, they ask you for a, b, and c, what the numbers are. So remember, it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So over here, it's whatever, and that's 20. Over here, c, you can see that there is no number that doesn't have any x. So here you would just put 0. Okay, so question 17, the diagram shows a solid cylinder. The cylinder has a height of 30 centimeter and a radius of 11 centimeter. Work out the total surface area of the cylinder and give your answer correct to 2 significant figures. What we need to find is basically we need to find this circle over here and this circle over here. We need to also find basically this part over here. So we find the surface of each different types of part, and then we just add them all together. So we can start over here by finding out what the area of these two squares over here. So area of a circle, we know that the equation is just pi r squared. So if you just, the radius over here is 11. So we can just find and do pi times 11 squared. So we know an area of the circle is 380.1. So we know 380 and 380. And then now we need to find out what this thing over here is. So how we do that is that we need to find out what the circumference of the circle is so that we're able to times it all, so that it's kind of going down, and we times it by 30 over here. So it's as if it's going down and circles down. So how do you find the circumference? This is by doing the equation 2 pi r. So we already know, so we do 2 pi, and r is 11, so times 11. So that means that the area is we know that it is 69.11. Now we'll just times it by 30, so that the answer is 2073.4. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do 273.4 plus 380.1 plus 380.1, because remember there is the bottom and the top, and if we just add them all together, we know that the answer would be 2800. Of course, this is two significant figures, so make sure you know how to round up. So the height of the cylinder is 30 centimeter, correct to the nearest centimeter. Write down the lower bound of the height of the cylinder. So when they say when with bounds, it's very important that you see how they measured it. This is to the nearest centimeter, so we'll be looking at the one that's right after it, so this part over here. So the lower bound, this will be 30. So since it's 30, you want to see what goes up and what goes down. So what's the most it can be, so that we can actually round it up to 30 if it's the nearest centimeter. This will be 29.5, because if you see 29.5, you'll always round it up. So this is the lowest bound. And what the upper bound, this will be 30.5. So that's how you round it back down. So in this one, we in upper bounds and stuff, we always go up to 5, even though in any other scenario, you'd always round up in this case. But for bounds, you do it. So a really good thing is that no matter what they do for centimeter, or if they say to the nearest 10th of a decimal to the nearest 100th of a decimal, that you just do it's 0.5 or 0.05, depending on what degree you're using. It's just plus or minus that. Question 18. The Venn diagram shows all the elements in set A, B, and overall. Write down the elements in A with this 1 over here. This A1 just means not A. That's simply what it means. So we're basically going to include everything except what's in A. So we can see that it's 5, 6, 7, 1, and 4. Find A and intersect. So find an A intersection B naught. This would be 8. So find elements in A naught B and U, A U B. So basically what this means is that they want A and B, which is over here. This is the 8 and 9, and not A U B. So not everything that includes both of them. So they do not want this part over here. So we know that the answer would then be A and 8 and N. And they also never really mentioned these ones, which means that they also want this, because this is everything that's not in A and B. So 7, 1, and 4. Okay, so there is nothing that is in A that is also in C, so they have no like terms in common. But B and U, everything that's B and in C is 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So U just means both, and N is whatever they have in common. Okay, so NC equals 3. So write down the elements in C. NC means that they have three different things that they do have. So we can see over here that they have nothing that they have in A. So we know that it's not going to be 8 and 9. This is because it is an A, however, so it can't be in C if it's an A. So it's not 8 and 9. So 5, 6, and 7 already has this 3 elements that they have. So the answer is just 5, 6, and 7. So question 19, Zane buys mineral water in large bottles and in small bottles. The large bottles are mathematically similar to the small bottles, and large bottles have a height of 32 centimeters and a volume of 2,000, and small bottles have a volume of 500. So work out the height of a small bottle and give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So again, this is a ratio proportion type of question. So over here, we just want to know what the scale factor is in between both of them. We need to remember that this over here is in cube, while this is just normal. we need to make sure that we times everything in 3, so we know this is the height, this is what we're looking for. So if we see over here, we can see what the scale factor is between the volume. So because they're both the same, we want to take it and put it back into a centimeter. So how we do this is that we can just do 500 over 2000. This is just clearly to see what the scale factor is, but because it's centimeter cubed, we also cube this. So this overall, the answer would be 0.62996. So we know that this is the scale factor. So now we just times that by 32 over here so that we find out what the height is. And the answer is 20.158736. And because they want it into 3 significant figures, we see 3. So 1, 2, 3. So then we basically just use this to see if we round this up or down. We round it up. So just 20.2. So with these type of questions, remember, it's always the same. It's always find the scale factor and then convert it to the units that you want if needed. And then after it, just times it by the amount that you want. And if you want to make sure that you always do whatever value is that you want. So let's say we wanted the H in this water bottle. You put whatever you're using to find the scale factor on the top. And then the datas that you know, you put that in the bottom. Make sure you don't mess up with that. Okay, so question 20. The diagram shows a grid of equally spaced parallel lines, and the point P and vectors A, B are shown on the grid. So PQ over here, that is 3A plus 4B. So on the grid, mark the vector PQ. So we can see over here, we see 1 is A, it's just 1 going, but every 2 over here, that is equal to 1B. Okay, so we do 1, 2, 3, because it's 3A, do 4B, so but it's actually in jumps of 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, that. And then we just join a line, so that will show, and we'll also label this as Q. And we'll do an arrow to show which way it's going. So because it's P2Q, then we'll do PQ. Okay, so on the grid, mark the vector PR. So we can see over here what it is. So this is P2R, so we can just do it the same way, but this time it's minus. Do this in blue. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But then it's plus 2B, so we go up 1, 2, this way. And then because it's going P2R, go that way. And this is R over here. Okay, so find in terms of A and B the vector QR. So we'll do this in red. So they want Q to R. So let's label this first. Because it's going Q to R, we'll go this way. So let's go down. You see this kind of same, so it goes 1, 2. So it's minus 2B. Minus because we're going down, going up is positive. So then we can see over here, and we skip it in 2s because that's how the scale is. And then we just go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's minus 7A because, of course, over here they show us that the positive way is the right way. Minus 7A minus 2B. Okay, so the point M lies on PR such as that PM is 2 over 3 PR, and point N lies on PQ such as PN is 1 over 3 PQ. So show that M to N is KA, where K is a constant, and state the value of K. We know that this that P to R is minus 4A plus 2B, and what we can do is that we can just do 2 over 3. This is just so that we can see where M actually is. And then for this over here, we know that PQ is 3A plus 4B. So 3A plus 4B. We know that it's 1 over 3. We know that this is minus 8 over 3A plus 4 over 3B. And this over here would be 1A plus 4 over 3b. We know overall it will be 8 over 3a minus 4 over 3b plus a plus 4 over 3b. We can see that these two over here cancel. So now all we have left is a. So if we do 8 over 3 plus 1, we get 11 over 3, which is the answer, since that's the K. Okay, so question 21. Glass A contains 122 millimeters of water and correct to the nearest millimeter. And B is 168 millimeter correct to the nearest millimeter. So calculate the upper bound of differences in millimeters between the volume of water in A and volume of water in B. So differences just means that we subtract it. So that we can subtract, they want the upper bound, meaning they want the largest number possible. So if you want the largest possible, is that what you do is that you get the largest possible from the first number and you get the smallest possible, so that you make the difference as big as possible. So we can see that B is the one that's going to be first. So we want to get the upper bound of that. Because it's the nearest millimeter, we basically just go up by 0.05. So 168.5. With smallest means we go down, which is glass A. So it'll be 1 to 1.5. So the answer would be 47. Okay, so question 22. This rule can be used to work out the fare in dirhams for a taxi journey in Dubai. So multiply the number of kilometers traveled by 3, add 7 to your results, and divide by 2. That's the taxi fare in dirhams. So find the formula for the fare C dirhams in the taxi journey of D kilometers. So we need to find the fare. So we can say the fare over here, this is in dirhams. So we'll start with C. So what does C equals? So we can see that we first multiply the number of kilometers by 3. So that is the first thing we do. So we can do, so where D is kilometers, we do 3D. Then we add 7 to our results. We do plus 7. And then we divide by 2. So then we divide by 2. And that is what the answer is. Okay, so thank you everyone. This is the end of the paper. We hope you found this helpful. We will be doing chemistry AQA and IGCSE Edexcel in a couple of days, and we'll also be doing maths AQA and Edexcel. If you want this paper, please go onto the link in our bio. You can buy it there so that you can try it on for yourself, or you can buy all the other papers that are coming up, any other predicted paper. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to help, and let us know what other papers you want us to do or what other content you would like us to do a video on. Thank you very much.